this time I welcome you. May God come and use you in a great and powerful way this morning. Amen. God bless you. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's been interesting preparing for the message today. For some time I've wanted to do a particular message, and I was prepared to do that, and then about the first of the week I was kind of feeling led with the election coming up that we needed to address that subject. And then God kind of said, no, we're going to go over this way. And I said, okay. And started preparing that message. And part of that message is in here. And then I got redirected again. And yesterday morning woke up and had a whole nother direction. So we're going to trust that this is the Lord that I've heard accurately. We're going to talk this morning about forsaken roots. And if we look back in the Bible, remember there was a time when God's people wanted a king. They wanted to be like everybody else. Samuel had been a faithful judge all of his life, but when he grew old, he appointed his sons as judges. But they were not as faithful to God as Samuel was. Therefore, the people sent the elders to Samuel to complain and ask Samuel to appoint a king over them. Samuel wasn't happy to hear this, but he took it to the Lord in prayer, and God told Samuel to do as the people asked. He also told him to warn the people about the dangers and the burdens the king would put on them. Today we're going to have more of a history lesson than a sermon, but there's going to be some Bible in here, probably a lot more than you realize. But the information I have to convey to you today, I believe, is vitally important as we approach what may be the most critical election in our republic's history.
Amen.
We can choose to return to our roots and follow the founder's vision for our country, or we can choose to follow man's deceived reasoning. If we look back to Hosea, we see a kingdom that has been divided after Solomon's death. It was divided into two kingdoms, Judah and Jerusalem in the south, ruled by Rehoboam, who was Solomon's successor. They remained largely faithful to God and worshiping him. The northern kingdom, which is the one we will focus on briefly, was ruled by Jeroboam, and it rushed headlong into idolatry. They had a large standing army. They retook possession of many of the territories previously lost and enjoyed prosperity unseen since the days of Solomon. It appeared to be very good times. But they had also sunk to their lowest point of immorality. They were involved in all types of vile practices and idol worship. In addition to idolatry, some of the other sins denounced by Hosea included social injustice, violent crime, religious hypocrisy, political rebellion, dependence upon foreign alliances, selfish arrogance, and spiritual ingratitude. It could also be considered the worst of times from God's point of view. God had provided them with prosperity and abundance, but Israel had abandoned God. They chose sin and disloyalty. After detailing this list of sin, Hosea warns Israel that God is going to use their enemies to exact judgment upon them. Do you see any parallels here to America? When we cease to follow God, other idols come in to fill that void. In Romans chapter 1, verse 21, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God or gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. We see this today, where in our society many things are placed at a level of idolatry. In some cases, even the earth is worshipped more than God. The created is worshipped more than the Creator. And if we flip over to Psalms 135, verse 15, says, "The idols of nations are silver and gold and made by the hands of men. They have mouths but cannot speak, eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear, nor is there breath in their mouths. Those who make them will be like them, and so will all who trust in them." So the Bible tells us, this is nothing new. The Bible tells us that this is going to happen. It tells us exactly how it's going to happen. We will become like that which we follow, that which we idolize. If you choose to worship idols of stone that are cold, unresponsive, and impersonal, you will become cold, unresponsive, and impersonal. If you follow the world, which is materialistic, harsh, and unforgiving, you will become materialistic, harsh, and unforgiving. If you follow stars and celebrities who are selfish, egotistical, and narcissistic, you will become selfish, egotistical, and narcissistic. The idols of this world have become covetousness and greed, particularly in this nation. On the other hand, if you choose to follow Jesus Christ, you will become more like Him.
Amen.
That's where we want to be.
Amen.
That's where we need to be. Chuck Missler, who is an evangelical pastor, I have a quote here from him that I believe outlines very clearly what we're talking about. He says, "And yet we have sunk to moral depths lower than could have been imagined only a generation ago. We are so sophisticated that we condone homosexuality as an alternative lifestyle. We murder babies who are socially inconvenient. We change marriage partners like a fashion statement. We have abandoned the sanctity of commitment in our marriage and our business dealings. Our entertainment industry celebrates adultery, fornication, violence, aberrant sex practices, and every imaginable form of evil. We have become the world's leading exporters of all that God abhors." I want to repeat that. We have become the world's leading